So Jacob, you're from Singapore, right?
Yeah, I'm from Singapore. From Singapore, but currently in Needham, Massachusetts.
Okay. And what college do you go to?
Olin College of Engineering.
Okay. Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's really small. So like there's only 80 kids per grade, but it's like a really nice community.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. So the first topic we have up is COVID-19. Um as we know, global pandemic, right? So it affected the whole everyone in the world. Um how did COVID-19 like kind of affect Singapore? You were living in Singapore during COVID, right?
Yeah. So when it first hit, I was actually in the army, like the Singapore Army when it hit. So that was an interesting time. Singapore did a pretty good job of like locking it down. So there was
Mhm.
quarantines and lockdowns and all these restrictions. Um, and then after a couple outbreaks, it's like, okay, then vaccinations, and now like life in Singapore is going slowly back to normal.
Right. Do they have like concerts and stuff?
Um, no, not since it broke out. So they just started allowing live music again and like fully
Mhm.
vaccinated venues. Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. I mean, they definitely like probably have opened up stuff faster than Singapore, in California at least, because they're still doing like crazy music festivals like Rolling Loud and
Yeah.
um, like I feel like definitely it's opened up probably faster than Singapore because Singapore is a um, very like highly regulated country, right?
Yeah, it's very conservative. It's very like we want to be as safe as possible, which is
Hmm.
nice in some aspects and not so nice in others.
Right. Um, that's interesting though. Like, so I've heard that Singapore, like, you can't flush the toilet like a certain number of times. Is that true?
Wait, what?
Like, the government like doesn't allow you to flush the toilet like a certain amount of times because it's bad for the environment. And that's like
Oh,
a rumor I've heard. I don't know.
oh no, no, no. There's no such. At least I don't know of any such restriction.
Are you allowed to do yoga? I heard that you're not allowed to.
No, you're allowed to.
Oh, all right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I know I've heard that like you're not allowed to chew gum.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You can chew it. You can't buy it anywhere. Like the sale of gum is very, very illegal in Singapore
Really?
because of
Why is
Illegal.
like
that, do you think?
because we had like littering issues and like
Hmm.
Singapore decided to like, you know what, let's just ban gum entirely. Uh,
Wow.
that was interesting.
Yeah. Was that controversial at all or no?
I mean, the thing with the Singapore government is like no one can really stop them. Like, like whatever they do is like, all right, like it's not a completely, it's not a like very democratic society. So it's like, all right, they're gonna do what they're gonna do and just hope that it's in our best interests.
How does the like Singapore government work?
Um, so like it's divided into like your neighborhood and stuff, and then you have like a leader of the neighborhood kind of, and then like every couple of years, every 4 or 5 years, you like vote for that. Um, but like in the sense that like somewhat analogous to Democrats and Republicans, there's like the Workers' Party and then the PAP. Um, but like whereas here it's like almost like a 50-50 split. The PAP has like a 90% advantage. So like whatever they want to do just ends up happening. So it's kind of
So
like
there's
that.
like a bit of a like republic type of thing, but
Yeah.
most of it's kind of like what they want to do, they'll do.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Um, so next topic we have is current events. One of the big current events in our media right now, I'm sure you've heard of it because you live in the US right now, but the first thing that comes to mind when I think of current events currently is probably like the whole Travis Scott concert and stuff.
Yeah, I heard about that. That was crazy.
Yeah, like that's like probably the biggest thing right now is like how 10 people died in a concert, which is very, very sad. And it's like for a while there, that was like the only thing people could talk about. Is there anything like that going on in Singapore that you know of that's like kind of just on everyone's minds?
Let me try and because the thing about Singapore is very small. So like the things that
Mhm.
make our front page of news are like things that normally people wouldn't hear of in other countries. The most recent one was there was a drug trafficker. Um, and if I recall correctly, so like Singapore still has the death penalty. And for like things like drugs and weed, it's very, very strict. So like he only had like, was it a kg of weed, kilogram? But then they're basically gonna hang him. So that
Wow.
yeah. So that's the latest one that crossed my mind.
Is that super controversial?
Um, it's controversial from other countries looking at Singapore. They're like, you know, you can't do that. Like, but Singapore mostly like, all right, like it's drugs and then he trafficked it and then like, okay.
Wow. Yeah, because I don't weed is kind of like a normal thing in the United States, I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like
yeah,
pretty
it is.
much legal. Wow, that's interesting. And you have like all these rappers talking about it and stuff, so it's like
Exactly. Yeah.
kind of embedded in our media. Interesting.
Going from like Singapore where everything is so strict like that, how did it change when you came to like the US?
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice, I will say. Like personally, like individual freedom is like pretty important to me. So just coming here and like being able to do things like trying to think of examples that won't get me in trouble. Like just like not being like regulated in like that kind of sense of the word is like very freeing and very nice. Yeah.
Is freedom of speech like a a reality in Singapore or not really?
Yeah, we don't really have that either. Like even like most of our publications are government run and like independent publishers normally uh run out of funding for some reason or the other. And then like for example, you can't have like a public gathering in Singapore, like or like a protest of any kind, or you'll just get arrested.
Wow.
Oh yeah, like something that happened, like there's this person that was just holding like a sign. It was just like a smiley face, but like outside like the parliament office, and then he was just arrested. So like, okay.
Wow. Did they
That's,
think it was like something politically motivated or
yeah, that was their thinking. But it was just yeah.
interesting? That's so like interesting to me because it's such a different reality there. What's another freedom that we have? Freedom of religion, is that a thing in
Yeah,
Singapore?
that's a thing that is very like protected though, like freedom of religion, because um we have a lot of different like races and ethnicities inside Singapore. So like one like big thing the Singapore government does in making sure that like all of them interact with each other and are like okay with each other. So like in each like government housing block, they'll have like an actual like allotted like number of or like percentages of like Chinese people, Malay people, Indian people, and then like other people. Then like they'll mix it and play with the percentages just nice. So like everyone like gets to know each other basically, and no one's really segregated.
That's a big similarity I would say between the United States and Singapore. It's very like racially diverse.
Mm.
Because it's a mix of right, like all those
Yeah,
Eastern and Southeastern countries.
yeah. Do you find the same to be true in? I'm assuming. Wait, are all of you in California right now?
Yeah, yeah, we're on
Okay,
SoCal. Yeah.
okay, SoCal. Do you find it to be like true in SoCal?
Yeah, I mean at my high school, you can pretty much find like every race. Like I'm actually half Indian, half white myself.
Okay.
What are your guys' nationalities?
Chinese.
Chinese.
Mhm.
What's your nationality?
Korean.
Oh, Korean. Yeah, I mean, I feel like our high school is pretty diverse. There's a lot of, Hispanics, there's a lot of African Americans. Um, there's not really like one race that you see only, which I think is really cool. I think diversity is awesome.
I think there's normally like a mix of races, but there's like one race in different areas that like maybe are the majority. So like
Mhm.
personally, I live in Chino Hills, so there's like a lot more like Chinese and Korean people compared to like all the other kinds of people. Yeah, but we're still like basically pretty diverse overall.
Yeah. Probably at my school though, there's a lot of Asian Americans. But in my area of town, there's a lot of Asian Americans, but if you go to like another section of town, there might be a lot of like Hispanics. But not to say that there's like no Hispanics in my area of town. It's usually like maybe a smaller demographic, but it's still definitely there, I would say. Yeah.
I have a question. Um, Going back to how we were talking about like the gum and the government regulation, I'm sorry if this is too personal, but has there ever been a moment where you thought that your own rights were being violated and it made you angry?
Um, probably, I mean, okay, so like mostly in Singapore, like the so-called like lack of freedom, I didn't really experience it so much until being forced to go into the army. And like that like 2 year stretch was like a bit of an eye opener, like morally to Singaporean culture, but also like how Singapore actually works. Um, like the government and the military are pretty closely tied together since mandatory service has been in effect since Singapore started. So it really lets you kind of see like the kind of inner workings of the country and like yeah. So in a lot of ways, like my personal freedoms or personal rights were kind of forfeited when I was forced to enlist, and then during my time in enlistment, I could also see like how other people's rights weren't so much like supported based on like their socioeconomic status or their race or stuff like that, which is a bit that was like that was a bit sad to see, and something I hadn't experienced before as like a international like American school student.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your experience in the army?
Sure. I can give like a brief overview. So like it's kind of it's kind of roughly what you expect when you think of army training. So like I went through basic military training for 3 months, and then I went to specialist cadet school where I trained to be a sergeant for 6 months. And then after that, I was a sergeant and then did a couple of tours in different units. And basically, like we learned like the normal kind of army stuff, like how to fire a gun, how to throw grenades, how to like move in battle, I guess. Yeah, it's like all the basic army stuff and like all the basic army lives. Like we had people like shouting at us and like we get up at like 5 a.m. every day. Yeah.
Wow. How did that what's the rules for mandatory enlistment?
Yeah. So every Singaporean male will enlist when they're 18
Oh,
for
okay.
2 years.
How long do you have to serve?
Yeah, it's a 2 year period. What you do specifically like ranges drastically because we have an Air Force, we have a Navy, we have an Army. Most people go to the Army, which is what I did.
Do you have like a right to pick or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no. You just kind of go where they tell you to.
Okay. All right. Any other last like questions anyone have?
I know. I just thought that was interesting because in Korea right now, because North and South Korea are still technically in war. Um, in South Korea, it's mandatory also for every male to enlist in the army. Um, my my friend's grandfather, who told her, his experience was like it was really bad because um, he just kind of like when he went through like that training and stuff, like he they like made him go into like it's like a room with gas in it and it like suffocates.
Yeah.
Like they make you do that. And my friend's uncle who had to go through that too was like they said it was really bad. So yeah, I kind of think that's very scary, but yeah.
Yeah. Uh one, I'm sorry to hear that, but also like I
Yeah.
have a couple of Korean friends that are in the Korean army right now. Theirs is like it's tougher than Singapore's, mostly because they do have an active kind of like enemy at their border. Um, yeah, the Korean one is like even tougher. I can't speak to that. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Um, uh, moving on, kind of, just a little bit. I know personally that you have like a company and HeroTech, and it's really cool. I was wondering if you can like talk about it a little bit to the other two girls that don't really know.
Sure. So I have a company called HeroTech. Basically, it's a startup that kind of does three main things. So firstly, we research and develop new like engineering things from science fiction, so like movies, TV shows, and stuff. One example is like a Spiderman Web-shooter, and then we make like media about it. So basically, like a YouTube channel and like some social media stuff. And then finally, we also sell the things that we engineer through like Etsy and eventually like Amazon.
Engineer, is that software or is it like what's the product?
It's like hardware products. So like I mean our most like notable example is probably the Spider-Man Web-shooter. It's like a
Oh, yeah, cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
How did like going to the military, like in between starting your company and then going to the US after, how did that like change your whole structure?
So entering the military was pretty hard because I started the company just 6 months before enlisting. Also, technically, I wasn't supposed to be doing it because, like, it's called moonlighting. You're not supposed to have a job while you're in the army. So that part is a little interesting. But basically, it basically taught me to like rely on other people and like outsource more because obviously Monday to Friday, I was doing training and I couldn't really do much. And then on the weekends, I was so tired from the training that like I also really couldn't do much. So in regards to the structure, I just had to rely on other people a lot more and like, yeah, just like build a larger group to work for HeroTech.
How about now that you're in the US?
Now that I'm in the US, so I still have one person in Singapore who's like handling the logistics side. And currently, I'm trying to find people in my college that are also like interested in the same stuff.
So it's inspired by comics or
Yeah.
Movies?
Yeah, it's like movies and comics and like for example, like the two projects, the biggest projects on my plate so far are like the Spiderman Web-shooter and also like a retractable lightsaber, extendable and retractable lightsaber, so like that kind of stuff.
Are you like into like Marvel and like superheroes and stuff? Is that something you've always been like super passionate about?
Yeah, like since I was a kid, my dad was also like a huge fan of this stuff, so he'd like show us all these kind of movies and we'd really get into it. And I was always interested in building stuff when I was a kid, so like the Legos and stuff like that. And eventually,
Right, because you're at engineering school, so I'm sure
yeah,
that's helpful.
yeah,
That's cool. That's actually really cool.
yeah. Wait, are you guys all high school seniors?
I'm a junior.
Oh, you're a junior. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
High school junior, yeah. Okay, well that kind of leads us into our next topic a little bit. So you mentioned like movies and comics and stuff like that. We have a topic about music. So is that something you're into or not really?
Yeah.
You're into music? What's like your favorite artist?
Oh, Ed Sheeran, probably.
Ed Sheeran?
Yeah.
Actually, you like Ed Sheeran too?
Yeah.
You liked him like even back in Singapore?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've liked him for like a really long time, and he just dropped a new album, which is probably why he popped to my mind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is he popular in Singapore?
He's fairly popular in Singapore. He did a tour there like a couple years back, and I was able to see him, and it was magical. He's
Wow,
awesome.
you saw him in concert?
Yeah.
Really cool. Seeing your favorite artist in concert is like unreal. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
If who do you think is like the biggest artist in Singapore? Like if you had to think of the person that's just been like running the music industry in Singapore forever, yeah, who would you think of?
See, that's the thing. Creatively, Singapore is like best described as stunted. Like I don't know if it's a combo of like the lack of freedom or something, but like all artistic endeavors are like we're not really known for that. So the only like Singaporean artists I do know of are like the Sam Willows. It's like a band of like 4 or 5 people, I think, but they're not that big. They're not internationally known. It's like, yeah.
So would you say like most of the music that is popular in Singapore comes from like the States, or?
Oh, it's all imported from the States,
okay,
or Korea. There's a lot of K-pop fans. There's a lot of K-pop fans. But yeah, it's all like from other countries.
Okay, that's cool. Next topic, also on the same boat as culture, is food. So you mentioned how Singapore is like very diverse culturally. What would
Mm.
you say is like the most popular food there?
Ooh. We have a lot. Hmm. Again, we have a lot of different foods because there's a lot of different cultures. Probably chicken rice would be like probably the staple, like Hainanese chicken rice. Um it's like a certain it's like just normal rice and then they have like chicken fat like cooked into it and then like chicken as well on the side that's like been steamed or roasted. Then they put like soy sauce on it.
What's your favorite food like in the States?
In the States, holy shit. I love I just realized this meeting is being recorded. My bad. I love burgers. I love pizza. I love
Mhm.
pretty much almost all American food, actually.
Do you like fast food?
Yeah, I love fast food. I know it's not good for me, but like I
Your
love fast food.
favorite restaurant or chain, I should say.
Favorite chain? Okay, Shake Shack for the burgers. In and Out is good, but it's
I was
like
gonna ask you about In and
yeah,
Out.
In and Out is really good. I feel like for like value, you really can beat In and Out, and you can like just stuff yourself there.
Yeah, I would say In and Out is like my favorite. But I don't know, McDonald's is kind of overhyped in my opinion. I don't really like
Yeah,
McDonald's. Their
yeah.
fries are good,
Their
but
fries are too good though.
their fries are really good. I'm not gonna In and Out probably lacks in the fries department, but their
Yeah,
burgers are
I think so
so
Mhm.
too.
good. And their shakes. What other fast foods do we have? I don't know.
Chick-fil-A.
I always go to like
Chick-fil-A
Canada.
is good. Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is good.
Have you guys had Raising Cane's?
Everyone keeps
Everyone
talking
talks
about
about
that. Yeah, I have not tried it.
I have not tried it either. But
It's
everyone
good.
talks about it.
Good. Worth it.
Is it like chicken?
Yeah, it's everyone compares it to like Chick-fil-A, but I don't know. I
Mm.
think both are good in their own way. Can't really compete against each other, you know?
Yeah, I also heard like a big thing, not where I live, but I heard like Sonic's is like really popular. Is that a thing?
I've never gone.
Never
Really?
heard.
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know. I think they have a lot of locations. Like if you guys know where Lancaster is, and everyone I know from Lancaster is obsessed with Sonic's.
Mm.
But I guess it's not really like an East Coast thing as much. So, is fast food a thing in Singapore or no?
Oh yeah, we have like McDonald's, we have Burger King, KFC. Those are like the main ones.
Do
Is
they
the
What?
serve?
McDonald's different in Singapore?
Yeah, there's like slightly different menu items. So like, have you heard of a McSpicy before?
Yeah.
Wait, do they have that here? Am I stupid?
Wait, mixed spicy. I think that is it like the chicken sandwich, like the spicy chicken sandwich?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got rid
Yeah,
of
okay,
it
it's
though.
basically that. Yeah, it's like yeah, there's some like slight menu item changes and like name changes, but
Mhm.
essentially it's like kind of the same stuff.
Okay, that's cool. So next topic is trends. Um, so for my school at least, it's like a really big trend right now to make like school accounts for stuff. So like I don't know if your guys' high schools have it. I know you're not in high school, but we have like a West Ranch, my high school West Ranch parking account, and they
Oh,
take pictures of
yeah.
like
We have
like bad parking.
mhm.
That's just like a weird like internet trend that's going on right now. Is there anything like that in Singapore?
Oh yeah, there's like a bunch of like internet pages devoted to like there's one like SG Road Vigilante where like people will just post people that have like driven and pissed them off. There's like oh, there's one that posted what's it called? It's like muck it's like muck fucked up. It's like yeah, sorry. That's like the literal translation of it from Singlish, but um it's basically just post photos of McDonald's burgers that are like so atrociously made. Like when you open it, it's like all over the place, and like there's sauce everywhere, and it's like sideways or like half size. Yeah.
That's funny. Is TikTok a big thing in Singapore?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, TikTok. I feel like TikTok has gone like everywhere really, really fast.
Yeah.
And I'm
Has
like
your like
trying
for
my
you
best to
page?
not go on to go on it.
Oh, really? You don't go on TikTok?
I try not to because I feel like when I do, like I look up and it's 5 hours later, and yeah.
Yeah. Has your for you page, like, have you noticed a change in your for you page, like moving or no?
Um, Funnily enough, no, no, yeah, which is
Okay.
weird. Yeah, I would have expected some kind of change.
But like social media is definitely like a big thing, like Instagram, Snapchat. Is that used in Singapore too?
Yeah, so we use all the normal like Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Where I say it differs is like messaging apps. Like
Hmm.
people in Singapore almost exclusively use like Viber, WhatsApp, or like Telegram. While here, I don't know about your guys' school, but like for some reason Discord is used
Oh,
Oh yeah.
like like almost exclusively at my school, which threw me for a loop. And Snapchat.
Discord is used a lot for us too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Especially with like school. Like they'll make school group chats and then just send the homework. Probably shouldn't say that, but um
it's actually really convenient though. Like you can do so much on Discord, like the different servers, and you can listen to
mm,
music with your friends, share your
uh,
speech.
I don't like it. I don't like.
Oh,
it's
all
too
right.
confusing for me, I'm not gonna lie. There's like a lot going on and I can't keep up with all of
Yeah,
it.
it honestly
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so next question or topic, I guess, is so it's a Friday night in your country. Where is like the go-to spot? Like if you're like hanging out with friends, where do you guys go? Like for us, I would say Friday night, everyone's going to like football games. Like it's huge thing, especially for high school and even college. Like football games are huge and everyone goes there. Is there anything like that in Singapore?
That sounds really nice. Friday night before COVID, it would probably be like nightclubs or something. The drinking age is also 18, so it's
Oh.
like yeah. Before
Wow.
COVID, it would probably be like nightclubs. After COVID, it's like friend's house.
Yeah,
um,
just friends now.
there's yeah, like I would say like culturally, there's not like one like big thing all Singaporeans do on Friday nights. It is a bit more like fragmented or split up based on like um I don't want to say race, but kind of like the stereotypes are that like all the like Chinese people will play mahjong and then like the Malay people will like go barbecue, which is like a terrible stereotype, but um I have participated in mahjong and barbecue and like yeah, yeah. I don't know.
That's cool.
There's not one like singular event that everyone does. But those football, but like I've heard a lot of stories about like American football games and stuff and like homecomings and like
Hmm.
what is it like?
Um, football
Chaotic.
games. Do you guys go to football games?
No.
I've been to a couple football games. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to some at my school. There's like people throwing stuff everywhere all the time. And
Yeah.
whenever we like score, I don't really know a lot about football, but like I will know when we score when people are throwing baby powder in the air. Like, and then
Mm,
after I'll be like covered in baby powder, like completely white. It's like an experience. I don't know.
That sounds
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun though.
It's definitely fun. I'm in ASB at my school, so I go into all the football games. And what they do is they have these at my school they have pack leaders because our mascot is like the Wildcats. So they have these pack leaders, and what these pack leaders do, they have to audition and stuff. And if you get it, then you have to go to all the football games and you basically like lead the chants. So they'll have these chants or like I don't know, one of them is like, "Who's your daddy?" And then like the whole student section will scream that, and it's just like super hyped. There's a lot
Yeah.
of like loudness. You can't really talk to people because it's just so loud. It's like a giant mosh pit. If you've ever been in a mosh pit, it's like that. And there's been some crazy experiences. There's sometimes they break the bleachers, like they've
Yeah,
actually
that happened at my school
broken.
too.
Really?
How that happens.
Yeah, they just get really hyped and like a lot of people stomp or like they'll stomp their feet on the bleachers and then one time it just like breaks.
oh
Yeah.
I see.
I don't. Yeah. Did you guys go to homecoming? What did you guys think of homecoming?
Oh, for homecoming at our school, Shefali,
Hmm.
not a West Ranch. Usually homecoming will be indoors, but this time we had it outside. It was on the basketball courts, and
Yeah.
personally, when we heard about it, like, oh, it's gonna be on the basketball courts because that's you also where I did PE my freshman year, so I associated it with a bad memory, but it looked nothing like it. It was very it was a lot better than I expected because it the theme was like the amusement park, and it really did look like an amusement park. So that was
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. But before COVID, we would have it at like a local hotel, like the Hyatt, and they would like make it look really nice, and it was actually like pretty they would go pretty elaborate on it, and then usually it's just like a DJ who's playing like really loud rap music, and then everyone starts like mosh pitting, and it's kind of scary. There's like injuries that go on, like at least three of my friends like broke something, or yeah, it's intense, but it's fun. It's really fun. So
Do you guys have any like dances like that or like any school events that are like that?
Um, my school is too small. We don't have any sports teams, like zero.
really.
So that's why I'm asking. Like, oh, that is one thing I feel like I haven't experienced, like an American like football game or like cheering for like home team or stuff. Because I have friends that go to like Michigan, like UMich, that's like huge schools with like huge football arenas, and they say
Big
like
football,
game
yeah,
days
yeah.
are like crazy.
At your high school, what kind of like extracurriculars do they have?
Um, they had like it's like the normal like sports and stuff. I played a little bit of high school basketball. Um, Funny enough, like American football, even we were like our school was the Singapore American school, but even so, like American football was not like popular at all. Like our team was like pretty sad. Um, but yeah, we have a lot of academic clubs as well. Like people are really into that. Um, Mathletes, honor societies, it's like the whole shebang.
That's pretty cool.
Would you say your school was really competitive academically?
Yeah, my school is pretty competitive academically. We were known for like having a bit of like somewhat of a toxic like competitive culture, which is like, yeah, kind of true, but interesting. What about your guys' school?
I would say ours, I don't know about how Ashley what Ashley thinks, but I would say ours is pretty competitive. But I've never really had an experience where it's been like toxic per se. It's more just like people pushing each other because um there's a lot of like successful alumni from my school who go to good schools, Ivies, UCs, you know. But the academics are definitely a big thing because my high school is definitely higher income, and people care a lot about their grades. Yeah.
Yeah, same for mine. Basically exactly the same.
Another topic, we're gonna do political. So the first kind of topic is if you could change or if you could fix one thing about your country, what would it be?
One thing. All right, let me like prioritize.
Hold up.
Probably I would say is like there are like lots of like entrenched examples of like racism in Singapore, and like it's not apparent to like tourists or people who visit like just for a little bit, but once you really learn about like Singapore society and how it works and how they like stream people from like a young age, it's like it's kind of sad. And like one thing I would change is that like I would want everyone in Singapore to have like equal opportunity to like to do what they want and like succeed and whatever that like looks for anyone. I just feel like sometimes people are limited by Singaporean society, and especially if they're not of a certain race. Um, yeah, like for example, inside the Singapore Armed Forces, my batch was the first batch actually to accept any Malays in the Navy, um, which is like before that it's all Chinese, and still there's the Air Force, for example, is all Chinese, which is like, come on, like Singapore is like has Chinese people, Malay people, Indian people, like all kinds of people from all different races, and like we make it such a point to like include these, except like where it really matters, and like it's really sad to see that, and like have friends, like for example, there's a stereotype that like Malay people will go to like the Singapore police force instead of like any of the branches that have like high intelligence or high security, because of like clearance issues, so to speak. And it's like, why? They're like as much a part of this country as anyone else. And that was like a major thing that I wanted to change, that I would want to change.
Do you think like the dominant kind of race was the Chinese in Singapore?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Wow. Interesting.
I was like, after moving to America, especially like kind of in the middle of the pandemic, where there was like a lot of new, I don't know how to word it, but like there was a lot of new movements about like obviously Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate and stuff like that. How did was there like a lot of similarities between, well, I shouldn't say similarities, I guess, because it's a lot different in US because there's people like actually speaking up about these issues as
Yeah.
opposed to Singapore. So like how was that different for you? Or how did that affect you, I guess? I don't know.
On my part, it's really nice to see these movements in the US, just because like yeah, like I would love to see a similar movement in Singapore. Obviously it can't happen because the way the government's running things right now, but like just to see like all these movements and protests and people in the streets and like all these stories, and people saying something, basically like that for me is like huge. And other than that, I can't really speak to it. I was a little scared of like potential like Asian hate stuff, because of everything I saw on social media, but so far nothing. So that's good. Yeah.
Great. Okay. The next question is kind of the opposite of the previous question, but it's, if you could spread one thing about your country to the rest of the world, what would it be?
Spread one thing. Efficiency, probably. Like one thing about the Singapore government and Singapore in general is that it's very efficient. Like if you want something done, it'll get done very quickly. And that's something I feel that's lacking in a lot of other countries that I visited. I'm half Filipino, so like we used to visit the Philippines every year, every couple of years or so, and that country is a nightmare to navigate if you want to do anything legally. So it's truly a nightmare. And the United States to some extent too. So the United States is much better at it, but it's also very large. So there's a lot of like white tape and like lots of hoops to jump through if you want to do things.
Do you think that also kind of has to do with like, you touched on like how, I guess authoritarian in a sense, but not extremely authoritarian that Singapore, like the government in Singapore is. Do you think that's kind of like a pro of it? Is that it's like very like get stuff done and it's efficient like that?
Yeah, that's like the age old like Singaporean argument, where it's like everyone gave up their freedom. Oh no, but also like we're one of like the wealthiest countries, well, not wealthiest, but like in terms of economic success and success by any other like on the paper metric, we're a pretty successful country. So like a lot of people would like compare the two. It's like, oh, look what we sacrificed, but also look where we are. And it's like a constant discussion. General consensus though is that like people in Singapore were actually pretty okay with like giving up their freedoms for the results. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So on a global scale, this is a more global question. What do you think is the biggest issue our world faces right now?
What do you guys think is the biggest issue our world faces right now?
Well, I did a research paper recently on the global supply chain, and what that means is how, like, I guess the global north, you could say, benefits from labor in less developed countries, and just like the disparity between work regulations and how like the Western economies benefit so much from labor in like inhumane labor in these less developed countries, to the point where it's like they're living on the brink of starvation, or they're working like 18-hour days for like a few cents per hour, like stuff like that, that I think is like such a big issue in our world. And for us, it's kind of like we don't really think about it that much because, you know, we use our iPhones every day, but it doesn't pass through our brain that like a child, like an 8-year-old child probably worked to make this device, you know. Of course it's like a bigger issue than just having one simple problem to fix it, but I think like that inequality is probably one of the biggest issues our world faces right now, personally.
I can't think of anything.
For me, like one of the biggest issues is climate change right now. That is not something new. It's been going on. I say that because there are some students and I that are like working on a project. It's called Tactically Framed. It's just basically addressing a lot of the global issues that we have right now, and like how a lot of those issues have been framed for like a political agenda. And right now the issue that we're trying to tackle on is climate change. Not to say that we're like solving climate change, but um some students and I were trying to like see how we could execute this problem to address like the issues of climate change in a more interactive and creative way. So did we designed like an escape room, and it's just like about climate change, and it's like if people were to go through those escape rooms, they could have like an interactive experience firsthand of how climate change is really affecting our world right now. I'm sorry, I got a notification, but that was it was just really eye opening. So I think that's like for me personally, like global warming and all of that. I think that's one of the biggest things that we have an issue with, and we don't really know how to solve it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I would agree. Real quick though, Jazmine's laptop died, so she'll be back shortly.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with both of those, honestly. Honestly, like half of me is like, oh, there's so many issues in the world. How are we gonna like solve all this? And they're also all like pretty complicated, and they're all like interrelated. So it's like me, I'm an engineer, so it's like, have you heard of the grand challenges by any chance? Like the grand engineering challenge, like basically there's like a conference of like people who came together. I think it's the UN. Was it UN? I don't know who it was. But they basically outlined like many like challenges humanity has to face in the next coming years. One of them is climate change, one of them's inequality of opportunity and inequality of access and stuff like that. And of those, like I probably think, I don't, maybe it's not the biggest problem our world faces, but it's the one that I'm more inclined to like try and fight, which is like the inequality of opportunity or access to technology. Mostly because I'm really interested in technology. That's why I'm engineering. That's why I'm like here at this school. And I've seen like how empowering it can be, like if it's used correctly, used in the right hands, and just the things you can create are pretty amazing. And the reality is that it's accelerating very quickly, and it's accelerating out of the hands of people that kind of need it as well. So just for me, I think like access to technology, especially in the coming years, is going to be huge as like it starts governing and like ruling more and more of our lives.
has there been any projects or anything that you created like hands-on at school?
At school? Yeah. So Olin College is a pretty special engineering college. We don't have tests, we don't have exams. We just are entirely project-based curriculum. So it's great. I love it.
Yeah,
So all of our grades are basically just based on what we built. Yeah.
that's really cool. Do you get like graded on the projects, or how does that work?
Yeah, we get graded on the projects and the process.
Could you share one project that you are in process or worked on before?
Sure. First year, I'm a sophomore, so freshman year, I made like a kind of AI, not full AI, but like machine learning algorithm to like detect faces based on like not computer vision, but like a camera. And so you could like show the computer like a face, and then it'll recognize it based on all the different like vertexes and stuff. That one was pretty cool. It was very hard. It was also pretty cool, but yeah, that's probably one of my favorite projects today.
That's really cool. You like the college, like how it's project based?
Oh, it's so great. Like if you don't vibe with tests or exams, like just come here. It's it's perfect. Yeah.
Really cool. That's really interesting. What is it called? The college?
Olin College of Engineering.
Olin. And
OLI.
that's in, would you say Massachusetts?
Yeah, it's in like a suburban part of Massachusetts.
Okay.
Like 30 minutes drive from Boston.
Oh, awesome. Okay. All right, so we have like speed questions that we probably should have asked at the beginning just as like icebreakers, but I guess we'll just ask them now. So these are, you could just like one word answer them. So here we go. If you could live anywhere, where would you live?
And
Japan. Good answer. What is your biggest fear?
oh, wasps currently.
All right. How many pillows do you sleep with?
2, 1 for the head, 1 to hug.
I also sleep with two.
Mhm.
Are you more of a city or country person?
Country.
Oh, I think I'm more of a city. Wait, what are you guys?
I don't know. Probably city.
Are you city too, Jazmine?
Yeah, I can't imagine like not having boba near me.
Okay. If you could be someone else for a day, who would you be?
Tom Holland.
It's a good answer. Who would you guys be?
Man, I don't know. It's kind of random.
I wonder. Oh, I would be an artist. Her name is Jamie Park. She's one of my favorite singers. I would be her for a day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know her. She's cool.
Oh, you know her? Yeah.
I'd probably be like Rihanna or something. I don't know. So if that is all the topics that we're gonna cover. So if anyone has any last minute questions, anything? All right. Well, we really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. We learned so much about Singapore and you as a person, and we're very glad that you took the time to sit down and have this conversation.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Yeah.
It's been really busy too.
awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.
You.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.